the representative of the national chairman of the ADC, and let me recognize all the leaders, chairmen, representatives, and everybody. The chief host, the convener, has actually delivered the keynote. So maybe I will deliver the support note and then allow others, the conversation to continue. But I have a couple of things I want to say. The first is that politics is the greatest facilitator of development and transformation. But politics is also the greatest facilitator of stagnation and decay. So politics is Janus face, two-faced. Politics done right facilitates development and transformation. And politics done badly facilitates stagnation and decay. Many will agree that since this republic, or let's say since we've got a sustained democracy from 1999, we can safely divide the experience from 1999 to 2025 into two halves, or into two buckets. Period. Where we had steady, even if it is small, progress, which in my view is 1999 to 2014. And period, we've had sustained decline, which in my view is from 2015 to today. These two periods, we played politics. But these two periods, the outcomes were different. Today, Nigeria is a country with the lowest quality of life. Now let me explain what that means really. It means that a child born before 2014 in this country, in every measurable way, lived better than a child born afterwards. Quality of life includes access to health, access to education. Quality of life is important because ultimately, no matter the name of the policy, every one of us wake up in the morning, look for a breakfast, have to buy food for our children, we have to provide for their school fees. If somebody gets sick, as human beings mostly get, you have to go to hospital and take treatment. And so today, many Nigerians are living worse than they lived before. They have less access to health care. They can't afford to eat as much as they do before. So what's the point I'm trying to make? The point I'm trying to make, therefore, is that if people have to prioritize what they have to do for themselves and their society, they should prioritize getting their politics right before getting the economics right. I just give 3 examples. Today, many people talk about China. China is helping us. China is giving us support. But by 1975, in fact, up to 1980, Nigeria had better economic outcome, GDP per capita, which is the best measure, than China. China was one of the poorest, miserable countries. In fact, Ghana was better than China in per capita by 1980. By 1978, China has not become a democracy, so to say. But it started a new politics. New leaders emerged and started thinking differently and started investing in production in rural communities. The result is that today, China is by some measure the largest economy in the world, or at least in most measures, in all measures, second only to the United States of America. So, politics matters. How you play politics matters. Who leads matter. Maybe we should only talk about Taiwan, that also went the same path. Or even get to Rwanda. So people say these countries, maybe God created them differently. They're not black countries. But Rwanda is an example. Even Ghana has made progress, at least in stability. They may not have gotten out of the economic crisis, but they're not killing people the way they're killing people in Nigeria and Ghana. Schools are not being shut down. By the last count, 3 states have closed all public schools, all schools in there. Katsina has done that, if I recall very well. One other state this morning. Sorry? Naija and Nasarawa, somebody said so. They have shut down school. Now, the tragedy is, the schools are closed under uncertainty. Not that tomorrow is maybe Salah or Christmas. So we say, after tomorrow. So we are closing schools without knowing what we are after. Nobody knows the risk, but we know that we are in trouble. So this is the worst time in this country in recent times, when not just that somebody attack a point, but that everywhere could actually be under attack. That is gross failure of leadership. Now, this is not about failure, it's about what can we do. One of Nigeria's greatest problems that I hope this group and all of us should pray to start exiting that problem is that somehow the Nigerian is a fantastic person. He believes that standing where I am now, somehow I will get to airport without walking. It's entirely a gift Nigeria has. I'm standing here, I'm not ready to take a step, but I know that by 12, I will be at the airport, inshallah, grace of God. That's our problem. Many people forget that Saudi Arabia, Dubai, many decades, at least at worst, 20 years ago, they were not this rich. I read a statement from Dan Tata many years ago before he died, that in those days, when he gets for Umrah, they detain him for weeks so that he can spend money in Dubai. These were not very rich people. These countries used their wealth better to create the outcome we see. So my message this morning is that God loves all people, all nations. Those who do the right things get the right results. Politics is fate. Wrong politics, wrong outcome. And again, let's talk about if in a society you have a government and you don't have an alternative, that society is not likely, if it's a democracy, to get it right. Because the idea of opposition is not just that they win power, is that they force the ruling power, the ruling government, to be much more diligent, to try to do better, because they know that somebody is available to step in if they fail. So there are three things we must do to save this country. Because at this point, this country is almost collapsed. Many of us don't know that the civil servant budget, the Nigerian budget has not been funded. The money you think you have been spent to perhaps buy up opposition. You are not funding projects. So the country is actually in a desperate, dangerous spot at this point. In fact, the country is in a situation it has never been in the last 20 years. Economically dangerous. Politically explosive. Very, very. This is the first time we've heard about Coup Rumour that became real coup, that became people detained, that became some civilians arrested. So it's like nothing happened, but something happened. That's a wrong place to be in history, where something is happening, you don't know what's happening, but something is still happening. So what are those three things we have to do? First, we have to ensure that there's always a viable alternative government, alternative candidate, alternative party to any ruling party. The first effort Nigeria should make is to make sure that PDP, ADC, all these parties are not destroyed. If a country, a democracy has no alternative, then those in power will have no incentive to change their bad policies. So I am 100% committed that in 2037, the current government must have a strong challenger so that we can have a choice to choose alternative. And everything they are doing to undermine the parties, I'm opposed to it. There must be competition. There should be competition. Leave it to the voters to make their decision. Don't create a fait accompli by destroying all the parties so that everybody turns into a de facto one party. There's no one party system. What is a de facto is to create no contest in 2037, after which you will see a flourishing of parties. So the whole idea is to make sure that nobody is a viable candidate for 2027. After that, all these people who are struggling to destroy their party will go back and rebuild the party for post-2037. That is the strategic cynicism at play, and that's what we have to reject. The second point I would like to point out is that the alternative party, the alternative platform must be truly alternative. It don't become alternative because you are out of power, briefly, and then you become alternative. How do you be an alternative? What are the issues that people care about? Start organizing around those issues. Today, the Nigerian people are suffering from insecurity. What is the ADC position, or Labour Party, or PDP, whoever, on insecurity? What would they do better? Today, Nigerian people have given up on the current, nobody's happy with the current government. Nobody, including those who support the government. Nobody. I mean, it can't be happy with the level of tragedy and trauma. But some people are still supporting because they are not seeing the alternative. We have to care about what people are going through. And if we don't care about what they are going through, as to provide an answer to their problem, then we're not entitled to be given a chance to replace the failing government. And this is important now. We don't want, the Nigerian people are cynical about revolving door. You know, you open, it revolves again. a revolve. No, we don't want revolving. We want to come to a point of clarity about our problems. Look at what's going on in Washington, a discussion around whether the violence in Nigeria is religious or not. The white people themselves, the Americans, are the ones who are passionately for or against, passionately saying it is not. Is that not correct? Where in Nigeria is there any conversation around defining our common tragedies and pains and finding a way to address them? So our leaders who want to be alternatives, forget all these conversations, forget what people are going through, and all they will tell you is that vote for us 2027. That will not work. You have to be bold, clear-minded, to come together and articulate a transformation, a way that will solve that problem. So people who are struggling and pained in Christians, Muslims, in North and South, will have confidence that you understand the issue and that you can solve that problem. So my criticism about our alternative leaders is that they are not showing leadership enough. You have to care enough. You have to have difficult conversations. And from that, you generate a consensus that will mobilize Nigerian people to defeat the ruling government. And the last point I would like to make here before I close is that we have an example of this. In 2014, the success of the takeover was not because those guys were sent, the opposition party. No, they were smart enough to identify the national crisis and came out strong to take a position that resonated with most people. And people now said, let's try these people. These have failed. Let's go. That's how democracy works all over the world. When a government in power fails, people swing to the alternative. But that alternative must exist as an alternative. If it does not, people do not swing. And that's the crisis that the leadership of ADC and other oppositions have to address. You have to be an alternative. An alternative in the policy, in the messaging, and what you are telling the Nigerian people. Otherwise, the Nigerian people will stay back on de facto suffering. Because if there's no exit, then let me learn how to suffer with dignity. And so I will end by saying this clearly. This community action is very important. They are doing what I think the parties will do. But this is how it works in history. In the US, elsewhere, non-political, but non-party, but political groups are the ones who do the effective mobilization. Then when they mobilize, then they look at the political platforms and they decide which political platform fits their plan and purpose. So because our parties are weak, driven by money, we should take it on ourselves to organize ourselves. And during the election, we now decide which platform aligns with our vision. We should not trust the professional politicians to do it for us. We should organize ourselves and force them to address our issues, or else we'll find alternatives. Thank you so much.